Good morning. I'm Jason Ward. Please bear with me. This is the first time I've ever delivered a eulogy for my mother. Thank you for joining our family to celebrate her life. Carol was born June 11th, 1941, in Durango, Colorado, to Floyd and Marguerite Giles. She was the fourth of 7 children and their first daughter. A few years after her birth, the family settled near Avondale, Arizona, where she grew up, going to school and attending a small country Methodist church her own grandfather had founded. She graduated from high school and then business college and then started working. Carol married within the next few years, and I was the result of that marriage. We moved to San Francisco not long after I was born, but her husband left when I was just a baby. She moved with me back to the Phoenix area, where she got another office job and worked hard to create a loving home for the two of us, near family. She told me she did not regret marrying him because she got me as a result. When I was 5, a friend of hers convinced her to go to a singles dance. It was at that dance where a tall, handsome man named John introduced himself. He remembers her saying she played tennis. That was the excuse he needed to get her phone number, and they went on a few tennis dates. They quickly dropped the tennis and went on more dates, getting to know each other. John didn't shy away when he found out she was a single mom. He thought that was a sign of her independence. I remember the first time she introduced him to me. He walked into our apartment and she said, "I have someone I want you to meet." He was 6'6", and I thought a giant had just walked into the living room. Mom told him we were a package deal. Being a husband to her meant being a dad to me. John proposed about 6 months after they started dating. They were married July 24th, 1976. We became an instant family, but there was still one thing missing. Dad relays in his words, "Carol loved children, but we had not decided if we would try for more. Jason wanted a brother, but I had inherited a condition that, if passed on to my children, would typically result in limited life expectancy. We decided to pray that God would allow Carol to get pregnant quickly if that was his will for us. God acted, and we were blessed with Steve, who was the little brother Jason had requested. After Steve was born, Mom chose to stay home with us, and that decision became the heart of who she was. She poured herself into loving not just her own kids, but also so many others. She babysat for many other families for years, for nominal pay, or sometimes none at all. It wasn't about the money. She did it because she simply loved having little ones around. She would also teach Sunday school to 3-year-olds and became involved in the leadership team of a women's Bible study so she could teach preschool Bible lessons and crafts while the mothers could attend the studies during the week. When Steve began elementary school, she became interested in reading education and learning about different methods of teaching kids how to read. After the family moved to Colorado, that interest led to years of working with students to tutor them in English and reading. Carol knew she was where God wanted her when at the end of one school year, a girl she had tutored told her, "I used to hate English, but now I like it." Carol also had her quirks. Mom hated driving. Steve remembers a time she dragged a traffic cone a couple of miles on the way home. The first time I ever got behind the wheel of a car was the day Mom took me to the DMV to get my learner's permit.
Me too.
As we walked out of the building, she tossed me the keys and said, "You're driving home." She then buried her face in one of the novels she always seemed to be carrying with her, and I drove while she was seemingly oblivious to my lack of driving experience. We managed to make it home safely. But what I remember most about Mom is how she made everyone feel loved and welcomed. We did not have the fanciest or all the latest things, but our house was where my friends wanted to be. There was always space for another plate at the table if someone happened to be there when dinner was served. And there was always a listening ear and love in the home. And she was wise. She was a mother who taught us right from wrong, but gave us room to grow. As Steve said, She let us make mistakes. She knew it was part of life. We never had a reason to doubt her love for us, and if someone was a friend of her boys, well, that was good enough. I went through a short rebellious period in high school. I brought home a couple of people of questionable character. Mom did not object. She just welcomed them and listened to them. I remember a time she told me one of these friends had stopped by our home. When she told him I was not there at the moment, he said, "That's okay, can I talk to you?" Of course, she welcomed him in. I had friends who would tell me, "Your mom is awesome. I wish my mom was like that." And we took it for granted. From our perspective, that is just how moms were. Steve's friend Chris related a similar story. He said she had a way of making me feel recognized and welcome. She cared about me and all the kids hanging out in the basement. Through every act of hospitality, every hour of service, and every moment of love, the golden thread that ran through Mom's life was her deep, abiding faith in Jesus. It wasn't something she just believed on Sundays. It was something we saw her live every day. The last few years, her health steadily declined. She became confined to the house, then to a recliner, then to a bed. Dad became her full-time caretaker. The man who introduced himself at a singles dance proved his love again 50 years later by serving her. He was her rock. When Dad had a health emergency a couple months ago, they were admitted to the hospital together so Mom could be with him. This was a blessing because Mom was anxious when Dad was not around, and his presence comforted her. In the hospital, the decline continued. As she was becoming unresponsive during her last week, her face would still light up when her sons and 4 grandchildren visited in the days before her passing. Her last words to me were just a whisper, "You were a good son." My last words to her were, "I love you, Mom." She left this world on March 19th, 2026. She blessed us as wife, mother, grandmother, and a friend to so many in her life. We miss you, Mom. We are comforted by the faith that she held. Her legacy is that of service, faith, and love. We hold on to the virtue of hope, that to be absent from the body is to be with the Lord. Eternal rest grant her, O Lord, and let perpetual light shine upon her. May the soul of Carol Ward and all the souls of the faithful departed, through the mercy of God, rest in peace. Amen.
Amen.
My wife Jamie was unable to make the trip from New Mexico, but she's a beautiful and talented artist and made this next song in tribute to my mom.